Hello, everyone. It's so lovely to have you here. Thank you all so much for taking the time. I'm stood here laughing because, like, bloody hell, the chat feature already is pretty something outstanding, and it's so lovely to see folks tuning in from literally around the world. Really something quite special. So, thank you all so much for taking the time. Um, Two very quick challenges before we get going with today's session. So the first is this chat feature right now is filling my heart with joy. It is so good. But it's also very important. It's important because, like, as much as the three of us today will be doing our best to fill your head with information and your hearts with joy, then the second half of this is that chat feature where every one of you gets the opportunity to meet one another, to say hello, to share information, to have a chat. So, first challenge, please keep that chat feature buzzing throughout the duration of today's session. It's so important. On that thought, please also make sure that you're switching your chat messages to everyone. So not just hosts and panelists, but also to everyone. The way you do that is you head to your chat feature and you can see a little toggle. The toggle is probably blue. Presently, for some of you, it will say to hosts and panelists. Click that and then click on everyone rather than hosts and panelists, and everyone can see your messages. That's challenge number one. Challenge number two, we're speaking about LinkedIn today, so it only feels right that you share after today's session your biggest takeaway on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Instagram, wherever you're doing any social media stuff. That's how we grow this community. That's how we bring marketing content to you every week. So let's have a lot of fun with that afterwards. I'm just smiling beyond belief. This chat feature is almost too quick to keep up with. So thank you all so much. I'm not going to be calling people out here because I cannot keep up. So if those two challenges, keeping that chat feature alive and sharing on social media, sound good to you, then let's get going with today's introductions. So to introduce our guests, today we have Leah Turner, who is a LinkedIn coach extraordinaire, and Pragya Mishra, head of marketing for Shield, which is my personal favorite tool for LinkedIn analytics. I admire both Leah and Pragya for their achievements, but more actually so for them as human beings. Everything Leah does comes across with drive, an inspirational level of groundedness and self-awareness. Pragya brings kindness and energy, like energy to everything she does. Although right now is suffering with a lurgy, so I think we can be forgiven for like 10% less energy than usual. Nonetheless, they're two awesome human beings. But today, speaking in the world that we're in today, where of course there's all this stuff going on, then, you know, it kind of feels a little bit facile to be speaking about how to smash LinkedIn until you look at someone like Leah, who last week raised £40,000 in a single week for a Ukrainian refugee charity. And that's the point. LinkedIn in itself is a tool, but right now LinkedIn has power. We have the opportunity to use this tool, this platform, and use it in a way which feels powerful, that can impact lives, that can improve businesses. So however you're using LinkedIn, whether it's personally, professionally, commercially, this platform has power. And today we're going to speak about how we can harness that in a way which can hopefully do good. So today will function as just a Q&A. So it's just the three of us on our screens for today. So the one thing I want you to do, and I want you to be so involved in today's session, is to use the Q&A feature, which is found down below. I want you to get your questions in straight away. So you wheel your mouse, you find the Q&A feature, and you drop your questions in right there. I've got a couple of questions to get going, but after that, this is all about you. Let's make today's session amazing. So before we get going with my last bit of the introduction, I want to say a big thank you to our sponsors for today. Today's featured sponsor is Impression, who are an agency based in Nottingham. They do SEO, PPC, everything you would expect in the marketing spectrum. But not only that, they're lovely human beings. They're hosting our Nottingham event in a few weeks. If you're looking for an agency that is growing in Nottingham, London, wherever it may be, look no further than Impression. They're really good human beings. They're really good at what they do. Absolutely recommend them. Do take the time to check out Impression. Also, a big thank you to Attest, Content Square, Ahrefs, Impression, Content Cal, Redgate, Cambridge Marketing College, Brand Recruitment, Gravity Global, and Third Light. We'll feature all those in future weeks. One big ask from me is in return for today's session. please do take the time to thank those sponsors. That's how we keep on bringing these sessions to you. So that's my introduction done. So let's get going with questions. So Pragya, I'm going to start with you. What does your LinkedIn journey look like?
Hi, Joe. Thank you so much for having me. It's almost a bit unreal before I answer your question that the last time I was here, I've always been here as an attendee. So to be here speaking is just so much fun. Um, yeah, and I remember always dancing to your introduction music, and I was like, okay, I'm actually going to be talking this time. Super nice.
I love it. Thank you. I appreciate that.
But coming back to your question, it's been a bit crazy because I just started posting super recently, and it was something that I did. I kind of started very not with so much intention about last year in 2019, end of 2019, and then in 20 somewhere in the middle of 20, I said, okay, maybe I need to be serious about it, and then I started creating a little bit of content in 20. And one of these pieces of content, this is way before I was working for Shield, I was doing these small video pieces with some colleagues. Nobody wanted to be on video, but I was like, no, no, guys, come, let's do this. And it ended up on Andreas's feed, who's my CEO. And he said, okay, listen, we got to talk because I love what you're doing. And somehow that's how it all ended up me starting working for Andreas and for Shield, and then me being super consistent. Uh, and I think in 21 is when I really pushed the kind of accelerator and I posted super consistently. I think I ended 21 with 4 posts per week for the whole year. And I went from 500 plus connections to 16,000 followers. And it was just insane because I was just talking about very normal things. And I like talking a bit personal, mixing personal things plus LinkedIn tips plus marketing things. And it's been overwhelming the amount of people who write to you in DMs and write to you in comments. And yeah, absolutely fantastic. Highly recommended.
I love that as a grounding for today's session. Thank you so much. And Leah, how about you? I mean, you've been, I don't know, on a rocket ship for the past 2 years, right?
Yeah, so mine started tentatively back in October 2019, and I was just trying to support my small business with no marketing budget. And just like Pragya, really, I personally started posting corporate stuff that wasn't me at all and got tumbleweeds. But once I actually started posting things that were about my life, about being a single mum, traveling, my aspirations, being a bit self-deprecating and incorporating a lot of humor, or what I think is funny. And my following rocketed to about 10,000 in the first couple of months. And now I'm sort of drawing close to the 150,000 mark. And it's all been organic, all from posting content. And I now run a business that's like multi-6-figure business within the first year of teaching people how to use LinkedIn. And I get to speak on panels, I get to work with great big corporations. And I absolutely love it. I've connected with the most amazing people, but the biggest thing for me is the impact it allows me to have on other people. I'm really big on community and supporting the people that support me, and recognizing that I wouldn't have achieved any of this without the support of the community. And I think for me, LinkedIn embodies opportunity and community. And if you really embrace both of those aspects of it, you're going to succeed, but you kind of have to give to get. So it's something that I've learned and has catapulted me forward, I think, as not just sort of an influencer, but more as I guess a community leader rather than an influencer, maybe. Would probably feel more of a comfortable word for me to use.
Nice. I love that. Thank you. I was actually going to start off by asking you, what's the number one mistake that you think people are making on LinkedIn? But I kind of feel like you might have answered it there in a way already, which is sort of being yourself. So I'm going to kind of flip that. I mean, so being yourself and having the community spirit in mind. So instead of asking that, I guess I want to know, because you see people on LinkedIn all the time opening up their hearts, you know, and their guts and putting it all out there. You know, do you feel like you need to be vulnerable to succeed on LinkedIn, Leah, or do you think, you know, that actually you can have a degree of separation and still be successful on the platform?
You definitely can have success without being vulnerable. There are people that have success just by commenting in the right places and being supportive without having to bear too much of themselves. And for introverts that are really not comfortable with that, I'm sort of ambivert, so for me it can be deeply uncomfortable, but I see the benefits, so I will put myself out of my comfort zone. But I work with a lot of introverts, and actually they find success by having a great profile and commenting lots. So vulnerability helps for people to connect with you. And I always use the Beyonce effect as a comparison. Beyonce is like, we all see her as women, maybe some men, we see her as inspiring because she's beautiful, she's got the rich husband, she's got the family, she's got the glittering career, etc. And she's this big inspiration. But when we see her on the front of newspapers with cellulite and a bit of a mum tum and having problems with her husband cheating on her, suddenly she's not inspirational anymore, she's aspirational, she's just like us, she's a real person. And that vulnerability humanizes you and makes people feel more able to relate to you, which helps you to impact more on their memory, I think. And I think when I've posted stupid things about watering plastic plants or getting caught dancing to Justin Bieber in my garden by my neighbors, people have gone, oh, she might be an influencer, but she's a bit of a dick just like me, right? So I'm suddenly much more fun to be around, and I'm not like some queen on a throne that people just go, oh, she's amazing. They go, she's just an ordinary knob like I am. I would rather be the ordinary knob than anything else.
100%. Or, you know, it feels a lot less exhausting than anything else. You know, to be yourself is a lot easier than being someone else. Pragya, you went. Oh, by the way, I need to start off. There's 56 open questions, which is ridiculous in 7 minutes. So something I'd really appreciate is if anyone watching today could go through and use the thumbs up feature for any questions you really want answering, because already we know that we're not going to get through 57 questions. So give a thumbs up to the ones you want answering, because then we can focus on those ones. But while we're doing that, Pragya, last year, I think it was, you went like viral with a post about food, right? You know, and this sort of speaks to that theme that we started off with about sort of giving a little bit of yourself. So like, why do you think that went successful? But also, how did that feel? Because like, I had a feeling of virality a little while ago, and it wasn't actually necessarily nice, you know. So what was your experience of that?
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. Just to put virality in perspective, I thought before that post, I thought if I get a post which touches close to 100,000 views, that's super viral. And then then this post happened, and that went up to 4.7 million views just on that one post. And I was like, okay, I have no idea what this was going on. And it's interesting because I have had a lot of people, especially because at Shield, I talk to a lot of customers, and a lot of them want to get the answer to exactly this question, but this is LinkedIn, this is not Facebook. And that kind of comparison, I don't even know where to start, because I completely agree with Leah, because that if you are not comfortable putting yourself out there, you can do everything that other people are doing by commenting, by talking, by being nice, and just honest. And my mind, I've done that since I was a child, and I just cannot resist talking exactly what I want, even on LinkedIn, whether it's on Facebook or Instagram, wherever. And I have seen so much benefit from it. The fact that when you are just yourself and you tell your story with a bit of your personal self, like your personal life, it puts the whole professional into a perspective that it's not just this person doing this for a living, but it's this person who comes from here, who has had these experiences. And that's why there is so much more to this story, this person, than just what they do for a living. And I think that's what happened with this post, that I hadn't been to India. I live in Europe, and I hadn't been to India for the last 3 years till last year, because I moved just half a year before COVID, and then COVID happened. Then I couldn't obviously go to India, and then time flew. And 3 years later, I went home for just a week, actually, to meet my grandfather, who was not well. And the first thing that I did when I reached home was my mom made this kind of quickly put together lunch because we had to leave and go and see my granddad. So she didn't even take out the nice cutlery, and she was very upset later. She's like, "You're showing all of these people the bad cutlery of the house." And it was just a plate with just Indian food. And yeah, it was crazy. But that speaks so much that we're all humans on LinkedIn. It's not like we're humans on Instagram and robots on LinkedIn. So yeah, that goes to say that put a little bit of yourself and it can go a long way.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that because I think you said a line there which really encapsulated, a really clear thought there, which was, we've got the opportunity here to place our professional selves in context, and actually that seems like a really nice way of thinking about things. And even if I don't necessarily see a separation between professional and personal a lot of the time, but of course, you can sort of have the 2080 sort of thing going on. So to place that into context is really quite smart. So thank you for that. That's really, really cool. I love that. Let's start taking some questions from the community because there are a bunch. So let's start with Jody, who's the top voted question, and Leah. If you have 10 minutes a day to spend on LinkedIn, what's the activity you would do for maximum impact?
Assuming that your profile is up to scratch and you've got a good headline in place, you should be commenting on other people's posts, because actually there's a better chance that you're going to get seen by more new people by commenting. So I'd find your ideal clients and be commenting on those. Have a list of your ideal clients and visit their profiles at least once a week and leave some comments on them, because that's supporting others is actually probably more powerful if you've only got 10 minutes a day. And a couple of posts a week, but I would say commenting is more intentional commenting, structured, targeted commenting is probably the best way to spend 10 minutes a day.
Nice. I love that. That's smart. And did you do that at the beginning of your journey? Were you far more commenting or were you far more posting?
I was definitely more commenting because I had no confidence. I didn't think anybody would have any, this is a community of professionals, and I saw it as like CEOs and entrepreneurs and people that weren't like me. And I was like, what on earth does anyone want to hear from this blonde single mum who doesn't look like a professional? And I just had like proper imposter syndrome. So I hid in the comment sections and I posted funny comments. I was a little bit cheeky and I felt comfortable to be myself and have my personality on display a bit more in the comments. And then when I realized people really enjoyed it and were connecting with me and responding and liking comments, I was like, okay, maybe I could do this stuff in a post as well. And then I started and then I never stopped.
That's amazing. That's really, really cool. But I'm sure, like we could probably put this out to the chat feature, if anyone has felt not confident, posting on LinkedIn or it stopped you, I'm sure there will be some yeses, coming through at some point because, well, there we go. There's a small explosion coming on right now, of folks who didn't, and it's hard, right? It's hard.
I'd encourage anybody that feels like really insecure to go into any of the comment sections of any of my fun posts and see the kind of comments and engagement that I get, and the really fun people, the really supportive, kind, silly, nerdy people that engage with me and how I speak to them. And there's no airs and graces, there's no corporate pretension or any of that. It's all just people having a laugh together and a bit of banter, and it makes you realize that it doesn't have to be so corporate Colin all the time.
So true. I love that. We're just people. We're just people. Cool, Pragya, let's go to the next question. I feel like throughout the duration of the session, I want to dip into everything. And I want to go like for an hour on confidence, but we'll go through the questions.
Another webinar.
Yeah, for sure. So Pragya, on next question from Gemma. How do you improve engagement from your employees? So I don't know whether you get this question a lot, but when you sort of see the team, employee advocacy feels like it should be important, but actually asking people to post and comment and stuff like that, how would you approach that question?
Yeah, I think the first, from my perspective, and we're seeing this with a lot of super big companies to small companies doing this and establishing employee advocacy programs. I think the first thing starts with the voluntary kind of engagement. So you don't tell people that, okay, from tomorrow, all of you have to post. It's you take volunteers. In any organization, there are people who would be more likely to do this out of their free will than the people that you have to force and say that, okay, you got to do this. So start with the ones who want to volunteer for a program like this. Definitely have people in the, let's say, the decision makers in the senior management team or someone to be kind of your somebody who motivates people and does this, sets a lead. So have someone in the senior management team posting and encouraging people that other people can look up to. Have volunteers. Have somebody from the content team to support you in case you're not sure about what kind of content to write. Come up with a buddy program. We've seen that work beautifully. Like pair people together, the volunteers, say that, okay, two of you are friends, are buddies for LinkedIn. Talk to each other when you're not sure about your post. So I think when you start with just these three things, already you would see in a month that people get more confident. And when others who are hesitating and are fence sitters, they see the success of these volunteers, they'd be like, okay, I want to be a part of this too. So I think it's like designing word of mouth and FOMO inside a company. And I think that's the best way to look at an employee advocacy program.
Nice, boom. Like you had that answer ready. Like that was you've done that before. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
I do this for a living. Sorry.
Yeah, I remember the misery of being a marketing manager and trying to convince the team to post, and it's not easy. But honestly, those three suggestions were really, really quite brilliant. So thank you very much. I don't know whether you got anything to add there, Leah, or whether we go on to company pages.
No, I think Pragya nailed it there, and she's just given you the same advice I give my corporate clients as well. When, if you can get a few people that are really making it work, the others go, well, I want a piece of that as well, because they're going to be the ones that get promoted when the ones bringing in leads.
100%. It's so true. On that point, actually, like I guess this does raise the question. So I've noticed, or I've been in an agency where they had a posting team, so to speak. They had 8 people who volunteered, who knew that they wanted to build their personal brands and knew that LinkedIn was a place to do it. I thought that was a really nice way of doing it because it sort of allowed a opt-in sort of system in a way. So these were the 8 people that they were going to support rather than saying that everyone had to do it, which is quite demoralizing, not only for the person organizing, but also the people who feel like they're being forced to post. I don't know whether you've seen that at all in practice, Pragya, or whether that just seems like a good idea. It might just be a yes and then we move on.
No, yeah, I mean, I think forced to post is never a good idea to start with. So it starts slow. It's not something, you cannot make writers out of people. You cannot make public speakers out of people overnight. It's also, we need to respect, as employees who are trying to set up employee advocacy programs, one need to respect the personal space, because your LinkedIn profile at the end of the day is your personal profile. It's not owned by our company. So I think just how you would behave with people in normal life, not push them to do something on their personal time, is the way one should treat this as well. I think there needs to be a lot of respect and humility setting up this kind of effort.
That's it. It's with people. It keeps coming back to with people first, right? I imagine that's probably going to be a lot of the conclusions, but it's important. So, Leah, on company pages. So for me, company pages seem to be having a bit of a moment. Like they seem to be growing and growing and growing, and reach seems to be improving.
Yeah.
So
Go on.
the question from Katya is how to improve the reach of a company page, but that leaves it nice and open for you.
Do you know what? I don't actually work on company pages that much, but when I ran the webinar last week for Ukraine, there was a really wonderful expert, and I highly recommend everyone follow her, Michelle J. Raymond. She's out of Sydney, and she is probably one of the best company page experts on LinkedIn, and she liaises with LinkedIn directly on their features. And she helped me to get my company page started. I already had one, but I wasn't really using it very often, every now and then. And I started posting on it last week, and I posted 4 posts and increased my following by 50% in that time. It's gone up 500 followers just from 3 posts. And I'm already finding the engagement rate is much higher and the reach it's lower. But if I was getting that engagement rate now with the following I have on my personal page, it would be astronomical views. So I really think LinkedIn are putting some real effort behind company pages at the moment. And I know that they've got some really exciting features coming up. And I'm converted. Like, I really think that I'm going to really start pushing my company page more, because it gives me more of an audience and I'm reaching different people. So I would say if you're going to do it, start now, because I think we're kind of ahead of the wave now. And I think things are going to start really upping on the company pages. And yeah, Michelle J. I've just bought this. That's Michelle's book. business gold, and it's like I'm gonna read it cover to cover so I can nail this.
Nice. That's awesome. And like, what are you going to be doing? Have you given any thought to what you'll be doing differently on your company page to your personal page? Uh,
Uh, yeah, so I'm putting less personal stuff on my company page. My
mhm.
company page is much more focused on funny things and tips and tricks about LinkedIn. So I do still post that on my personal page because obviously I want that kind of reach. My screen's frozen. I do still want to be able to reach my existing audience, but I'm reaching more third degree connections with my company page content, which I'm like, okay, this is new because I'm reaching people that I'm not in any way connected to. So I would say no, I'm not going to be posting pictures of like my kids and my dog on my LinkedIn company page. It will be much more focused on LinkedIn content, marketing content. I think I'll save that other stuff for my personal page.
Yeah, spot on. Cool. How about you, Pragya? Have you been noticing the same trend? Like, I seem to notice
Yeah.
you sort of like jumped up in your seat a little bit when we mentioned it. So.
Yeah, because actually this is like a crazy perfect timing for this question, especially for us, because I kind of started built up a project to focus on the company page about let's say 3 4 months back, and we had about 5,000 followers on our company page at that point,
Mhm.
and I think today we are at 25,000 followers,
Yeah.
and it's been insane. I mean, I cannot even. It's the amount of engagement that we are getting, the amount of reactions. In a way, I feel now that LinkedIn company pages can be the future of a MVP for a community in some way. So it's where all your customers, future customers, anybody who's in the space that you're in, they're coming there for the content that you put out. So I think the company page needs to be the non-gated educational content part of
Mhm.
everything your business does or everything that you talk about. So it's literally your blog, but in form of a LinkedIn feed.
Nice.
So
Interesting.
what we are doing is we're taking tweet shots from people who talk about personal branding, talk about building things on LinkedIn. We're taking testimonials from customers. Somebody else's, we are kind of like celebrating other people through the company page, saying, hey, look at this person saying this, doesn't this make complete sense, and have you had such experiences? And then people jump into comments, and it's almost hard for me to go back and like reply to everything, because I'm like, okay, what should I be doing? So it's been insanely great in terms of engagement, in terms of the growth that we've seen. And absolutely, I think treat it like a ungated educational content and try to get more and more conversations going is just that's the best way to do a company page right now.
So interesting. I think that, if folks can go away with one tip from today, because I think for a long time, especially with that confidence stuff that you were speaking about with as well earlier, Leah, a lot of the folks watching today will have access to a company page. And as long as you are providing content that is pure of intention and looking to help folks, then it feels like a massive opportunity, albeit, not establishing your personal brand. So it's good to be doing both as well. So thank you both for that. That's really spot on. Hopefully that's really exciting for a few folks as well, because I think I certainly dismissed company pages for a long time. And now, like you, have had that realization in the past few weeks. I'm now going to be reading this top question while for the first time. So forgive me if I stumble through my words. Hopefully it goes well. So a question from Kaz, who says, hey everyone, thanks for doing this. I was wondering, how do you contact a potential client? I followed a couple of businesses I'm interested in working with, but realize you can't message a business directly. And most of the times the business has so many employees, you can't find the founder or the CEO. That's even more complicated if you have a free account like myself. So I guess this is a question about outreach, really. And, we've all suffered with death by in-mail, and getting irrelevant sort of folks get in touch with us in our inboxes. So, Leah, do you ever advise folks to get in touch and do outreach through LinkedIn, or is it much better on an inbound sort of thing?
I tend to teach inbound, but there definitely is a place for outbound. But what I would recommend before you actually try to message someone, assuming you can find them now, if you use Google, you can generally find the CEOs and the founders of companies. Companies House will tell you who the founders are. So you can definitely easily find them. And if you look up the company, then you just have to find the right name or put the name of the person and the company, and you should be able to get a result up there. If you in fact Google the name of the person and the company, their LinkedIn profile will quite frequently be the top search result. So it's reasonably easy to think a little bit outside the box. But what I would recommend is engaging with their content for a while first. Before you start cold pitching them or trying to slide into their DMs to talk about something, show them that you're someone worth engaging with by providing value to them. So engage on a few things that they post every week if they're posting content, and do it that way. Warm them up first so they become familiar and comfortable seeing your name pop up, and they have a warm fuzzy feeling as someone that supports their content, and maybe they've replied to a few comments and you've built that personal relationship. And then you can reach out, send them a connection request, personalize the connection request in this instance. I really love your content that you put out and I'd love to connect so we can support each other, or I can see more of your content. And then when you've connected, don't jump into their DMs straight away. But when you do, send a voice or a video message, because it cannot be copied and pasted. And they know that you've written or spoken a message specifically for them. And one thing that as humans we all respond really well to is being made to feel interesting, and that you've made a special effort, especially for us. So especially if you're contacting founders, make the effort that it's just for them. Reference something that they've posted specifically or something on their profile. Make sure it is really highly personalized, because we get so many generic messages that those ones really stand out, especially voice messages.
100%. I think you did that the first time we met. You actually practice what you preach here. Like I'm almost certain that the first message I had from you was a voice note. I think I got in touch with you to say I think you're amazing, to be fair, Leah, but like after that point you sent a voice note.
I think I was on a dog walk.
Yeah, I think
I was trying to multitask. So yeah, I think it was some rambling message with dog noises in the background. But yes, I do send voice messages a lot.
I love it. No, that's really, really cool. And likewise, I think you mentioned video messages there. So Drift Video or Wistia Soapbox are two great places to record like super quick, personalized messages through your webcam. So that's my little hot tip as well. So
do it directly in app on the mobile.
Can you? Nice.
Yeah, there's a video feature within LinkedIn messaging on the app.
Nice. Well, there you go.
Only on your phone app.
Amazing. It's so interesting. There does seem to be a real difference in the experience between the app experience and the desktop experience. And yeah, that's fascinating. Probably not enough time to go into it today with 89 open questions. Of course there is. But let's go to Tristan, because I enjoy this question. So Pragya, what's the one piece of advice you were given about LinkedIn that you didn't take, that you wish you had taken? It's quite a difficult one to get your head around. I'm now trying to think as I ask the question to sort of get my head around it. But yeah, let's go over to you, Pragya. If you're unfrozen, you are.
Absolutely. Okay, perfect. Before I answer that question, I think I saw a lot of messages pop up when Leah was answering the last one about what happens if the person that you want to get in touch with is not active on LinkedIn. How do you engage with their comment? And I think I can just add one thing, that there's many times especially when you're trying to reach a CEO or a founder in a company of a sizable size, there's always someone else who is posting. So the way you diversify a investment portfolio, it's the same thing. You find other people who are posting and you start engaging with them. And then when you write to them, it's somehow there is a familiarity, because more often than not, people are talking to each other and they're like, oh, but this Pragya girl, she wrote to me and I know her, I see her content and I've spoken to her. So your name, even if it's not familiar to the person who you directly want to talk to, it'd be familiar with people around them. So that could be one tip for that. And okay, now I can get to the question. I think one of the things that I was told to do, and I absolutely did not do when I started, was actively connecting with people. So I had this kind of resistance to going and connecting with people and writing a personalized message. And I was like, no, what would people think? And what if they don't accept my connection request? And I don't know what to say, etc. So I did not go out and actively connect. And I think that sometimes is so much more crucial when you're just starting out, because you start getting inbound followers or connections on your LinkedIn journey when you start creating content and there's a lot of content to back you. So people go to your profile, they like what you've been talking about, and they send you inbound connections or they follow you. But when you're just starting out, and let's say you have 500 plus connections or a few thousand connections and you don't have so much content, it's important to reach out to people and connect, especially only after you've engaged with their content and kind of they've seen your face in their feed. So I think that's one thing. Connecting actively with other people is something if I would have done, I would have probably grown my audience much faster.
Nice. I love that. And combine that with Leah's point from earlier about commenting as well. You know, if you're doing those two things, you're almost proactively starting at the low level, sort of getting out there to more people, but then also actively. I love that. Thank you very much for sharing that. I really appreciate it. How about you, Leah? The one thing you wish you'd done?
The one thing I wish I'd done sooner was video. It's still a mountain I'm conquering, but every time I put video out, I get a flurry of invitations to work. It really, really makes you much more approachable and people feel like they know you so much better. I'm really not confident on video and I have to drink a glass of wine before I film videos most of the time. I'm absolutely fine on webcam with other people, but without that personal back and forth dynamic, I feel really awkward. But it really exploded my brand. And it really, like, every time I do it, I get more and more messages from people and people reach out more. So for me, LinkedIn have also confirmed that they are moving towards more of a video platform. All the social media platforms are. So leveraging short form video would be my tip.
That's interesting. And you said short form video there as well, though.
I really find that videos under 60 seconds fly, because if you can convey something useful or entertaining, just like TikTok, just like Instagram Reels, in a short period of time, people come back again. They don't want to sit and watch a 4 or 5 minute video. Like, who's got time for that? You have to have real credibility for someone to want to give you 5 whole minutes of their day. But a 30-second video where you just give them something useful or a tip, or wish them a good week, or share some happy news, it's very quick and people will commit 30 seconds to 60 seconds and it doesn't take anything from them. So yeah, I would say under 60-second videos, if you can nail them, get them out there.
Nice. Thank you very much. There's a lot of love coming through. Penny says, love your videos. You don't look like you've been drinking. So that's awesome. And this would be something I'd love to gain from you two. In the interest of time, I'll just add 2 pennies worth on video, which is the first is that often with my own videos, whenever I've posted, I've actually not seen a lot of engagement from them off the bat. But actually they've been then subsequently the things that people have mentioned to me 6 months later. So in terms of likes and comments, they haven't always been like, you know, boom, but all of a sudden 6 months later, because it's got that extra dimension of humanity and sort of speaking and context and stuff like that. So I think it's really important. The second is the video profile pictures has been something that's been really interesting to me recently, in that I was so against them because I thought they were so cheesy. But then just recently, like, I put one up and it's been something that people have engaged with and sort of mentioned to me quite a few times. And even I did mine in 30 seconds, 30 minutes or whatever. It was super quick to do, but it feels really powerful. So
I've had a fair few clients that have started doing them recently, and they're regularly referenced by inbound leads saying, I saw that and I really liked it. It makes you stand head and shoulders above everybody. So highly recommend getting a cover video done.
Love that. Thank you very much. Thank you. Let's go to a question from Orion, who is blooming lovely. It's lovely to see you here, Orion. Thank you so much for taking the time. So the question is personal brand versus work brand. Obviously, we use LinkedIn to drive work objectives. So do you have any good suggestions on keeping it well balanced? And let's go to Pragya first, if that's okay.
Continuing the conversation about what we were saying, that there is a balance. One brings their personal aspect to their professional. The easy way to start is you tell a story about your professional life and you add personal insights from there, that, okay, I got hired and I met this person, I said that. So when you put the I into your story, already you're making it personal. It doesn't have to be about your personal life if you're a little bit shy of being vulnerable out there. So I think if you just add the I, already you're doing a great job. And once you get used to it, you will know when there is a personal story that affects your mood that you want to share with everybody that you can bring out. So that could be an interesting way to start.
Love that. Thank you. You're so good at this. Leah, do you have
Can
any?
you repeat the question, Joe? Because my screen stuttered just a minute as you were saying your question.
Of course, no problem at all. So it was we used LinkedIn primarily in a professional context to drive work objectives. So do you have any suggestions on keeping it well balanced between the sort of personal and the professional stuff?
I love what Pragya said just about using the I for sure, but also thinking about like behind the scenes of the business, because a lot of it's about giving the business a personality that makes it stand apart from other competitors. If I just want to go to any old company, I'll Google and get the person that's got the best reviews, but I want to connect with the heart of the business. So getting to see how people interact with each other behind the scenes and how the business runs behind the scenes and the why behind the business and how the business treats their clients and maintains client relationships and treats their staff, you're giving a personality to the brand and a voice to the company. And so you're still getting that personal edge that people can connect with and relate to without it having to get too personal.
Perfect. That's brilliant. Thank you both. Two really great suggestions. Let's there's so many open questions. We'll go to Susie's next, who asks the biggest mistake that you see on LinkedIn. Leah?
I mean, there's a really common one that I guarantee at least some of the people watching today are doing, and that is having their profile set to private. And people don't even realize they're doing it. And the amount of times I've actually won business from saying to a complete stranger, did you know your profile's set to private? So going to their profile photo and making sure it's set to public. Otherwise, to everyone you're not connected to, you're just a little grey circle. And 9 times out of 10, people have no idea that that setting's still on, and no one ever tells them. So I would say that's probably one of the biggest mistakes I see, and not one people mention very often.
Interesting. So that's specifically the profile photo, right?
Your profile photo, if you go to your profile photo, click on it, and on the bottom left-hand corner, if you're on your phone, bottom left-hand corner, it should have like a little picture of an eye. If you click on it, it needs to be set to public. If it's not set to public, only people you're actually connected to will be able to see your face. And there's nothing that will stop your growth more than being a grey circle.
Awesome. Well, it goes back to everything we've said so far about humanization. How about you, Pragya?
I'm just laughing that there's so many people in the chat saying actually mine was private. So that they are right, they're changing lives. But yeah, I think that is really one of the things that we also tell people that, okay, all I see is a gray box, and every time someone sends me a connection request without a message and I see a gray box, I don't accept it.
Same.
Because I don't know who you are. I can't see you. And this is a place where I want to see a human being, not a gray circle. So, so yeah, that's I think the first
I can't
thing.
believe how many people are.
Exactly. So I think let's
I could have done a 30-second video about that and changed their lives.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We can move to the next question, Joe. I think that was the biggest takeaway from that question.
I love that. In that case, I'll share one because I did it yesterday, and you two were laughing at me for it. So you know, like that's fine. Which is the share feature. The amount of times I get asked to share something or ask or I see someone share things, and my heart sort of droops a little bit, and I feel a little bit sad, you know, because like using the share feature in. By the way, thank you, Susie, for the question. You nailed it, so thank you for that. You've changed some worlds today. But using the share feature on posts and also events, the reach is just so significantly curtailed that it's next to useless. So a greater use of your time would be if you're looking to get engagement, then is a like or a comment, but then also sharing yourself natively rather than simply sharing a post.
When you speak to corporates and you say, so what's your content strategy? And they just go, we just get the staff to share our company posts. You're like, That's not a content strategy.
It's killer, isn't it? It's bad, and you understand why, because of course they're coming from that perspective of employee advocacy. But if you're going to do that, then post about your employees. Don't just share their stuff because nobody will see it.
Get them to at least comment on your post.
Yes, 100%. Cool. Let's go to Pragya first on this one because I think it fits in your wheelhouse quite strongly. Potentially, I might be presumptuous here. Comes from Laura, who asks, "What's the best way to approach social listening for research on LinkedIn?"
Yeah, I think there is the best way to approach is clearly always defined by what is it that you want to do. What's the final goal of that social listening project? Is it that you want to listen to what other people are saying about you? Is it specifically customers? Is it just people about the space that you operate in? So depends on what exactly do you want to do. But I think it's important to always keep an eye out on people who talk about you specifically as a company, if you're talking about it from a more company perspective. And then it's obviously important that you're connected to what people talk about the space that you operate in. So for instance, at Shield, we have a specific place where we document every single time someone mentions Shield. An easy way that we do it at our company is that we have a dedicated Slack channel that anybody of the Shield employees, when they see Shield being mentioned, they go in and they drop it, whether sometimes people tag us or not tag us. And obviously we are able to do this because everybody at Shield is super active on LinkedIn. So people are always on LinkedIn and you run into somebody liking something and then it shows up on our feed. So it's important to document it separately so that everybody knows that, okay, if I see something mentioned about us, I need to drop it there. That's a good way to kind of document and then you know what to do with it. Another way is obviously to go out there and actively ask people questions about something that you want to hear about. So for instance, this can then go back to what kind of content do you want to write on your company page? When you specifically ask questions where people then reply and then you have everything put together in the same thread and then you can go in and answer those specifically. So yeah, many ways to do this.
That's great. That's so smart, though. It makes perfect sense. Very, very good. I love how you just got an answer at your fingertips there. It is so impressive. So thank you. Do you have anything to add at all, Leah? Or shall we?
No,
Cool.
Pragya nailed that one.
Cool. Let's move on to a question about groups then, which is for you, Leah. And how do you use groups properly? And how can you find the right ones? I mean,
I
personally,
don't use groups and I don't recommend using groups. At the moment, when you post in a group, it doesn't come up in the feed and people will just forget that they're there. I think group messaging is good, but I actually had a LinkedIn group and the messages, the features were so poor that I moved it off onto a Slack channel because I just didn't find that it served the needs that I had for keeping in touch with people. I wasn't getting notifications. It doesn't come up in my feed. Like, LinkedIn have been saying for the past year or so that they're going to improve the group feature, but we are yet to see anything. That was in our Clubhouse room with Daniel Roth and a few others a year ago, with one of the LinkedIn rooms that we used to do, and we've seen no improvements whatsoever yet. So my biggest tip with LinkedIn groups is find somewhere better to host your groups.
yeah,
That's a bit more interactive, like Slack or Discord or Telegram, for example.
yeah. And it's funny just to add to that list because it's exact. I would adore to put our Facebook group on LinkedIn because I think context-wise it would make more sense. But we just can't. And unfortunately for us, LinkedIn, Facebook, seems like the most sensible place to pop our sort of community group. So it's just interesting. It's a shame, but it is what it is. Cool. Let's go to the next question, unless you got something to add at all there. No, sweet. Cool. Let's go. Which is another version of the question about the thing that you didn't do. But this is something a little bit framed a little bit more positively, which is from Cassandra, who asks, what's something you didn't expect from LinkedIn that you're excited to have found or learnt? And let's go to you, Leah, first, if that's okay.
Oh my gosh, I could list off an arm's length of things. I think the biggest thing that I discovered about on LinkedIn is that community. My biggest takeaway from LinkedIn has been finding people that inspire and educate me and surrounding myself with knowledge all the time. I had no idea really even what marketing properly was 2.5 years ago, and then discovered that I have a natural ability to do it, and so have continued to learn and learn and learn from people around me. And I was very surprised with how giving the community were. They were there to support you and share their knowledge and want to help other people. And like that's been the biggest surprise to me, is finding an online community that are as invested in your success as they are their own. And that's not what you expect from, and I think it's the biggest misconception people have about LinkedIn. They think it's a load of people circle jerking, going on about how great each other are, but it's really not. It's the good part of LinkedIn, and it's 95% of people, they're there to lift each other, and they realize that we're all get to our destinations quicker when we support one another. And so it's in all of our interests to support one another. And yeah, that's been the biggest surprise to me.
Yes, I love that. You're right. It does feel like a generally positive place, which is really nice. Thank you for sharing that. Pragya, how about you?
Yeah, I think for me, it's been surprising that I've become friends with people from such faraway places that I never thought I would be friends with people like that, and people that I've never met in person. And that has been the biggest surprise, that you can actually, I have insider jokes with people that I've now known for the last 2 years on LinkedIn, and we've been commenting on different people. And then I'm like, oh my God, did you see that troll saying this? And I've had an experience where I posted something rather personal, and then there was somebody trolling me saying something rather nasty and mean, and somebody else who's my LinkedIn friend jumped in and say, hey, dude, back off and mind your own fucking business. Sorry, but the
I just said
community is
circle
just.
jerk. I think we're past this point.
I was trying to be the good Indian girl, but sadly that train has passed. But yeah, it's just insane how that it's such a nice place that people stand up for you, and you make real friends on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Love it. I absolutely love it. Thank you. Swearing's cool. You're absolutely fine. We've got about 5 minutes left, and we've got so
And
many.
90 open questions.
We're gonna have to
Absolutely,
speak
it's
really fast.
ridiculous. So I don't think we're going to get through 90 questions, but I'm conscious that like both of you have such a wealth of information locked in your head, and there may have been some questions that haven't touched on like the number one tip or the number one thing that is sort of like in you right now about LinkedIn. So like, I guess what's the thing that we haven't discussed so far, that you're like, you know what, I wish I could mention that to a group of people right now because it would be really useful. It's a bit of a broad question, but I'll just open it out. So Pragya, maybe if you go first, if you can.
Don't think of what others think. Just pretend that you're writing for yourself and posting for yourself. If you don't post because you fear somebody else's perception, you're going to sit there on that chair without posting for a long, long time. And the day you start posting, that's the day you'll be like, I should have done this before. So just pretend nobody else exists. You have zero connections, and what you post, nobody's going to see. And then you see what it does.
I completely back that as well, because I was afraid, and look at me now. Like now my life has completely changed because I started and I was afraid as well. So you don't know where it's going to take you. I would also add, what we haven't talked about is the importance of giving people a space to comment. And you can't just talk at people. You need to remember that this is about starting conversations, and community starts with conversation. And so remember that LinkedIn is an online networking event. And I always say it to people, you don't walk into a networking event, shout your opinion at the room and leave. Stay and have conversations. So your posts need to be a place people can have conversations. So ask questions, reply to comments, get to know people, and give people a space to celebrate, to brag, to share their good news, ask them what their wins of the week have been, ask them something that they'd like to share with you, but make it easy questions to answer. Don't ask them political stances and things like that, but easy questions to answer that allow you to start those conversations, because that's where the magic really happens, and you start to build relationships. You can't build relationships by just talking at people.
That's it. Thank you. It's something that's sort of come to me a lot over these past few weeks, which is it's not about you. And I think you've just summed that up really, really well there, Leah. Thank you. Like it's not about you. If you can bring folks together, then they'll naturally gravitate to you. If you make it about you, then they won't engage, because there are plenty of things to engage with that are really, really good. So thank you. We do have 3 minutes left, so I'm gonna make the most of the time. I'm not gonna sort of cut early, because there are so many good questions. So the next one comes from Claire, who says, what's the biggest oversight people tend to make when setting their LinkedIn strategy? We'll go to you, Leah, because I think you will have many, many people, a good sample base to work from here.
Okay, so if you want to make the most of your LinkedIn strategy, before you do anything else, you have got to get your profile right, because your profile is the destination for every comment, every piece of content that you put out. The idea is you want to get people onto your profile, and when they're on your profile, they're in a curiosity mindset, they're in the buying mindset, they want to learn about you. So you need to grab that opportunity after their first interaction with you. When they visit your profile for the first time, they need to be wowed. So that means using all of the features LinkedIn gives you: the banner, the cover video, the featured post, having your lead magnet in the featured posts, making sure you've got some recent activity, getting some recommendations, making sure your headline makes people want to visit your profile and tells them what you do. All of those things are crucial, because it doesn't matter how great your content is, if your profile lets you down, you're wasting your time.
Amazing. Pragya, do you have anything to add?
Just that treat your profile like your website landing page. If people don't see in the very hero section something they like, they're going to leave.
Yeah, spot on. Perfect. Okay, we'll make this the last one, and it comes from James, and it's sort of the question that you get every week in a guise, or whether it's boring or whether it's B2B, and it's the question of probably one you get asked all the time, but if you work for a stuffy, upright corporate company, can you still build a genuine / authentic personal brand on LinkedIn? We'll start with Pragya, because you are smiling and nodding. So
Yeah, because I'm not going to name names, but we have one of the a very big customers, a German stuffy corporate company that works with us. And I have seen people break the kind of mindset that this is a stuffy company I work for, and go out on their own and create such amazing content. So I think at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who you work for and how they are perceived, because trust me, if you as an employee think they are stuffy, they would want to change that to start with. So if you're helping them change their brand image, you're already doing way more than what your probably KPIs say you should, and you're going to be up in the promotion ladder before anybody else. So help them change their perception in the market, and it's a win for everybody.
Awesome. Leah, any final words?
Yeah, I would say a lot of these, exactly like Pragya said, a lot of these stuffy corporates don't even realize that they are stuffy. And actually, if you try to speak to them as if LinkedIn is a real life situation, and explain to them and say, would you only go to a networking event and wear a signpost that says about how great your business is, no one's going to trust you. Building relationships is foundational to trust, and trust helps keep to get and retain clients. And if you don't have trust, you don't have a relationship. To build trust with these new clients, you can do it all on LinkedIn. It's just a new way of doing it, and it's exactly like they used to do on the golf course with their golf buddies, or they used to do it in-person networking events. It's just doing it online instead now. And I find generally when I work with these kinds of clients, when you relate it to a real life scenario, it sort of resonates, and they go, oh yeah, that's obvious actually, isn't it?
Yeah.
So give it a try.
Spot on. Wicked. Thank you both so much, and thank you to everyone in the chat feature as well for keeping it buzzing throughout. Honestly, I
couldn't read quick enough.
I know. I'm going cross-eyed, but in the best way possible. So thank you all so much for that. I mean, the energy, someone's just said it's an awesome energy between the three of us, but actually it's really important there's an awesome energy from the community, because the whole point is that we've shared this experience together, and you only do that by every one of you contributing. So thank you all so much. I will document all the questions in the Q&A, and the write-up will be available from today's session as well as the recording after today's session on both the podcast and the newsletter. So if you're not on that, be sure to sign up. With all that said, big thank you, Pragya, Leah, for taking the time. Thank you to everyone for watching in. Please do take a moment to thank our featured sponsor for today, who are Impression, as well as our other other sponsors, should you have a moment. In the meantime, we'll see you again next week. We're back at the 8:30 start time for a very, very exciting session. So hope to see you there, and take care. Thank you very much.